Director Fotheringham,
Here.
Director Gettle,
Here.
Director Jackson,
Here.
Director Kegley,
Here.
Director McCalman, Director Perry, Director Pignon,
Here.
Director Prokopis,
Here.
Director Schaefer.
Here. Okay, I believe that's 7 of us, so we do have a quorum and can proceed. Next item on the agenda is public comment. If there's anyone in the room who wishes to give public comment, now's the time. Seeing none, is there anyone online wishing to give public comment? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, a recognition of Paul Ashton's service to the UPD. Chief Jason Mazarin. Welcome, Chief.
Well, as time moves on and things change, we always want to make sure that we recognize people who've contributed to the organization. And if we could have our friend Paul Ashton come up here. I've had the opportunity of working and knowing Paul for a long time, ever since I was the chief in Midvale. And I wanted to just let you know that Paul was very instrumental in this department's founding and coming together, and with the districts. And you could always find Paul at the meetings, and you could find him up on the hill, and he was always there to give lots of excellent historical perspective and lots of good advice. And as a friend and an ally to the UPD, we want to recognize you, and we owe you a lot. So we hope you're enjoying retirement. I'm very jealous of you, but we wanted to give you this plaque. It says, presented to Paul Ashton in recognition of your many years of dedicated service as a friend and advocate of the Unified Police Department.
Thank you very much.
So thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
When I have it.
Well, if they says, remember this one, I get a ticket.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Paul, for all your years of service. Moving on, our next agenda item, the Unified Police Department update. And to do that, as always, Chief Maz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had our annual awards ceremony. Some of you were there, and it was a great event. We tried a new venue this year, and I think it worked out really well. We were able to recognize a lot of our officers, and it was a lovely event. Thank you for coming to support us on that. And we also had our fallen memorial ceremony, and that was done over at Holiday. And that's the first time that we've done it since the separation. And it was a really nice event. I appreciate everybody that set that up. And we recognized and remembered Doug Barney. Chief Dial gave a wonderful talk, and I appreciate all the board members that were able to attend that event. May 18th, we had a swearing in ceremony, swore in 7 new members. We're pretty much full, and we've got a list of people. We haven't been in that position for a long time. And we got more people trying to kick the door in. So we're in a really great position and really fortunate as a department to be there. And again, I want to mention, I do these interviews, feels like constantly. Is Lindy in here? Oh, there she is, yeah. This fine sergeant over here is working like crazy. I'm doing interviews all the time, and I ask them, why do you want to come to Unified Police? And it surprises me that probably the most powerful recruitment tool we have is our own officers. And they're saying, I know so-and-so, I talked to so-and-so, and I want to do what they're doing. So that's been really great. I am happy to announce, well, law enforcement is a stressful business. And so I'm happy to announce that Chief Morse, who does a lot of our mental health, has arranged for a yoga class for our officers, but it is puppy yoga. So there will be many puppies present. This will be interesting. It will be fun, but apparently it's been done before. I know we did goat yoga in Midvale a couple times, but hopefully our officers will go to that. And
We like yoga in Midvale, but there has to be an acute animal component.
yeah, exactly. So I will let you know how that goes. If you'll remember, some of you may or may not, but we started a program quite some time ago called Level Up, and it was directed at, we had professional athletes, retired Major League Baseball stars and folks come together and to do mental health and resiliency and stuff with our officers. It's a great program. We put a lot of people through it. And the culmination of that is this. So it's going to be a baseball game between the National Guard and Hill Air Force Base and the police and the fire, since we always have to compete. So that will be over at the field, the Salt Lake Bees ballpark, Saturday, June 13th. Is it June 13th, April? Okay. Yeah, so they're doing tryouts, and the Major League Baseball players are going to be the coaches, and it will be free to officers and their families. So I appreciate all the work that's been done on that. And I in particular want to thank April Morse, the chief in Midvale. She put a lot of effort into that, and there's been really good results. So we're happy about that. Then I also want to recognize Lieutenant Torrin Chambers. He went to the FBI Academy and or the FBI National Academy back east with some other officers. And I found out, can't remember exactly when during the academy, he was gone for 3 months. And one night, him and some of the other officers were in a gym with their classmates, and one of the classmates just collapsed on the ground in cardiac arrest. So Lieutenant Chambers and a couple other people went over there, and it was a captain from Garland Police Department in Texas. They ran over to the captain, started to do CPR, and I'm really proud to say they saved the guy's life. He was able to recover, get to the hospital, and he couldn't finish the academy, but he got back to his department. And I got a letter yesterday from the Garland police chief, wanting to thank the department, thank Lieutenant Chambers for his actions on that day. It's a really beautiful letter they wrote in recognition of him and how grateful they were that they acted quickly and were able to get this gentleman saved and back to his town and his family, because his name's Captain Trusty, is the one that had the heart attack, and he says he's a really important part of their department, and there's just lots of gratitude. So I thought it was worth mentioning that to the board. Great job by Lieutenant Chambers. Really proud of him. One other thing I want to mention to you, and some of you are aware of this, I've talked to some of you, but I'll probably get into this a little bit more during the budget presentation, but it's time for the department to go through another evolution and some reorganization, some new changes. We have our good friend, Chief Mark Olson, will be retiring on, is it July 10th of 2029? 2030? I almost had you. We'll be
Planning ahead.
retiring in July, along with our friend, Chief Wayne Dial, who's been with this department for a long time and is one of our elder statesmen. So we are going to be doing some reorganizing, looking at workflows and doing some things like that. So part of it is we've going to lose our HR person. We're going to have to go find a new HR director. And I've talked to a lot of people internally and externally, and it seems like what I'm getting, especially from HR professionals, is that we should probably civilianize that position and do some reorganization within professional standards. There's advantages and disadvantages, but to have someone who's properly qualified and experienced in that, because that can be a high liability area. In the many, many discussions I've had with people who live in that world, the recommendation is to civilianize that for now, because we don't have someone who's necessarily got some of the education and training for that, but we're going to go that direction. And then the second thing is, when we reorganized the UPD back in 2023, 24, we looked at an assistant chief position. And at the time, we could not afford that under the circumstances. Well, we can afford it now. And we put some monies in the budget to convert a position to an assistant chief. But obviously I want the board's blessing on that. And we would take the professional standards out from under that HR umbrella and put it under an assistant chief position. But as we're seeing this organization start to stabilize and start to grow, we need to have some of that infrastructure in place. That is my professional opinion. So I wanted to bring that to you, and we can talk a little bit more about it when we talk about the tentative budget, but I wanted to see what your thoughts were and if you have any feedback for me or any questions on that.
Chief, what's your timeline for reorganizing that it would include the assistant chief position?
Once, if the tentative budget's approved, start working on it in June, make some of those changes in July, no later than the beginning of August.
Where current numbers anticipate that change, or those be amendments?
No, the current numbers, we've built that in so we could bring that to you today and propose that. So it wouldn't change the numbers we have right now. In fact, there is a possibility, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, we could save some money. But that just depends on a number of factors.
Any
Any
other
thoughts?
questions for Chief? Okay, thank
Oh,
you.
I got one. I guess I just want to make sure that none of our cities are losing a good chief already taking that new assistant position is all I'm at. Want to chime in on.
That's the tough part. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
I get it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no matter how we reorg, change is going to happen. And, you know, it's the only constant in life, but the UPD is a very nimble organization and has a very deep bench of a lot of, and I'm thrilled to see some of the sergeants and lieutenants that are being promoted and coming up. And there's no question in my mind, they're going to be very effective future leaders. So that to me is very exciting.
Chief, you'll probably get into it later, but is this an upgrade of an existing FTE or is this a new FTE?
It'd be an upgrade of an existing FTE.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Chief. We'll move on to the next agenda item, acceptance of donations. Chief.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Couple donations. So one from Friends of Canine, which is the 501c3 that has been established for some time and supports our canine unit. They made a donation of about $3,900 for ballistic vests for 2 of our canines. But I would be very remiss not to mention that money came from John and Deanna Pfeiffer from Midvale. People have been volunteers and served and supported our precinct out there. Fantastic people. So Odin and Drago now have new vests and they look really nice and really safe and very practical utilitarian tool for our canine handlers. So we are very grateful to them for doing that. And I want to submit that to you. And then one more. Oh, Emma Fitzgerald donated some miscellaneous toys and hygiene kits to help our social workers and those that are doing mental health with people in the community, you know, victims or people that need help. And Emma happens to be your niece, right? Your daughter, that's right, sorry. Is Lieutenant Benedict's family member. So we appreciate that, Chris. That's really nice. It's really from the heart from her. So I submit those 2 donations to you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. My only question, I can't read the writing. Is it 155, approximately 155 or approximately 255?
I think it was 255.
Okay, just to make sure we get that correct. All right, is there a motion to accept the donations as described?
I move we accept the donations as described.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those donations are accepted and we thank both of those folks for doing that. Moving on to the next agenda item, approval of surplus resolution 260501. Chief Mazzarin.
Again, in your packet, you'll see the surplus resolution for vehicles. And always I want to give a shout out to our fleet folks. Do a fantastic job. Keep our fleet healthy and very efficient. And again, that's another area we're really lucky in. We have good vehicles to serve your communities well, and we do it in a way where our fleet is capitalized and we don't have some of the problems that others have. So appreciate our fleet folks and the work they do. So we submit those for surplus.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the surplus resolution?
I'll make a motion to the resolution number 26 -05-01, resolution to approve the disposition of specific fleet vehicles.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We'll move on to our next agenda item, and that is an update from the Finance Committee from Mayor Fotheringham.
Thank you, Chair. Last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, no, last week, the Finance Committee met to get a budget update. We also had a robust discussion about precinct fund balance and initial peek at the fee schedule potential amendments. And we'll talk about all those. But first, just give you some highlights of the budget, latest and greatest. Let's hit slide number 5 if we could. Well, in your packets, if you turn to page 5, it's the slide titled Post PBIM Objectives. We'll just hit a brief history of how we got to where we are now. So as you may recall, we started out with an initial budget request of 5.21%. And then the board asked for to cap our PBIM, which is our budget increase maximum to 3.5. By the end of that meeting, Chief Maz had committed to work toward a 3% increase, with the other objectives being to cap Slavisa's contribution to a net zero due to their cap ceiling issue. And of course, that's an issue that's not going away, but if we can't keep addressing that in the coming year. But also to maximize efficiency of budget without sacrificing operational capabilities and resources. Of course, that's an ongoing goal, every day of UPD. Also to catch up our civilian positions to market, and also preserve the goal of 2.5% COLA for all employees. And I'm happy to report, if you haven't noticed yet, that all those objectives appear to have been met. And so to not bury the headline any further, let's go back to the first page of the tentative budget overview. And right, so if you see at the bottom line, where it says in the bottom right corner, 1.39%. Well, I'd like to start just going up to the previous yellow line. That is the overall percent increase prior to the use of fund balance. So it's 3.08%. And so that's our total increase prior to the use of any precinct fund balance. And so 3% versus 3.08, I give that a passing grade. And of course, you could make the argument the comparison is actually the 1.39, but I like to look at the 3.08 because the precinct use of fund balance is a decision that each precinct has. And we'll get into that. That's another topic of discussion a little later. But the 3.08, I think, given current conditions, given current objectives, particularly with adding the logistics center, I'll just give a couple of highlights that I had noticed. Now, there are some slides in here that talk about how we got from the PBIM to the tentative. I'm less concerned about those because the PBIM is essentially a pre-tentative budget. And so to get from the first tentative budget to the second tentative budget, I think is less important than how we got from last year to the current budget. And so some of those highlights would include the SROs. We were able to get a significant additional contribution from the Granite School District and Canyons to to increase their contribution to our cost of SROs. Also, our chiefs level, the chiefs agreed to postpone any market adjustments to their salary. They still got their COLA, but their market adjustment, they were left out this year, and they volunteered to do that, or voluntold, I'm not sure. They did not put up a stink about that, and so we appreciate that. So I'll just throw up a flare for the coming year that we make sure we take care of that in the coming budget year, so as we don't start eating into the muscle of the body of the organization. Also, we've talked about $750,000 in capital expenditures being funded primarily by or exclusively by fund balance, and they were able to do that while still maintaining our 8.5% fund balance directive of the board. Also, of course, we had the addition of Intermountain Health. Now, if you dig into some of that detail, you'll note that the overall increase for shared, let me sure I get that number right. Okay, so we've got, if you look on the far right column, overall total, the big blue line, 68,464,000. You'll note that just above that, the total shared services increase is 521,000. But then you look down, I'm not sure if I'm comparing the right apples to oranges. It's just something I noticed, that their total budget increase is 804,000. So that created some, essentially adding Intermountain Health created some additional economy of scale that reduced the burden for all the rest of us they took more share than the overall increase because that's the nature of how that economy of scale is going to work. And so that benefited all of us, in my view. So overall, a 3.08 before the use of precinct fund balance. Those are our objectives from our 3.5% PBIM coming down to 3% prior to use of precinct fund balance. That objective appears to have been well accomplished. And so I appreciate Chief Maz and Debbie for getting us to a really good number and accomplishing those other secondary objectives, including Slavisa's rate being capped at 0. So just in summary then, prior to precinct use of fund balance, you see Mill Creek at 2.36, Holiday at 2.31, Midvale at 2.92, Slavisa at 0.89, and with a total of 1.87 for the member cities and just under 3% for Intermountain Health, for a total overall of 3.08. And then that brings us to the other discussion of the robust fund balance discussion we had in Finance Committee. That was primarily, well, you've got two types of fund balances we had to deal with. One, of course, is our general fund balance, which has the 8.5% minimum floor, which we're able to maintain despite the $750,000 in CapEx spending. The other issue was the precinct fund balances, because we had some of our precincts opt to use a fair chunk of their precinct fund balance. And in doing so, took the precinct fund balances below the 8.5%, but we had determined that those being special revenue funds, that those were not subject to the 8.5%, and that I expressed at least Holiday's desire not to in, for instance, Mill Creek's business when they want to use their fund balance for their purposes. We all agreed that though currently the policy, I'm sorry, I'm wandering all over the place now, but there was an issue regarding compensated absences. At present, those are paid out of precinct fund balance. There was an idea forwarded that we need to maybe review that compensated absences, of course, should accrue where they're earned, but since officers are portable throughout their career, that perhaps that liability should be assessed at the precinct value, but then pooled at the organization level so that then they come out of a common pool. Because we've had some experiences where a senior officer with a lot of uncompensated absence liability shifts locations, and then the receiving end of those, the cost of those uncompensated absences could be assessed to a municipality where that officer may not have served much time. And so then there was a directive to ask the finance department perhaps to get together with our municipal CFOs to come up with a potential plan to look at moving that process with regard to how compensated absences were funded out of precinct fund balances. So in the end, we've opted not to change or recommend any change for this year, and that precincts can use their fund balances how they want without being subject to the 8.5 minimum. And then lastly, we had a peek at the fee schedule review, which we'll go over on the next agenda item. In the Finance Committee, the only item that I recall being of significance that we had some questions about were the, which one? It was the solicitor, the door-to-door solicitor license, because some municipalities are handling that themselves. And there was a question of, when that would apply to which municipality, or, there's still a fair number of open questions about how that would work. But I didn't want to get into any of the other nitty-gritty, dirty details of slides 6 and 7, because those were essentially changes from the initial PBIM to the tentative. But I'm happy to take any questions, or I'm sure Debbie would be happy to answer any questions about the budget.
Thank you for your work as chair of the Finance Committee. I know, as you said, the discussion, when we talk about budgets, the word they always use to describe the discussion is robust. And that's among every organization. So we appreciate all you do in that committee. If there are any questions, I know we'll have multiple opportunities today to ask some questions about the budget, but if there are any specifically to Mayor Fotheringham and the Finance Committee. Okay, thank you.
But around enough to perhaps confuse. So.
I do have a question, but I think I'll save it. It's regarding some of the cities that look to be at a negative overall increase. I just kind of wonder how that goes, but I'll ask.
A good chunk of that had to do with their choice to use their precinct fund balance. For instance, Mill Creek, they had a 2.36 increase, but then a heavy use of precinct fund balance took them down to negative 250.
I guess my question would be, it looks in the Mill Creek column, overall budget increase is negative 411,000 rounding up. So where does that money go?
Well, again, it's if you look just above that on the green line, you've got budgetary use of fund balance, and that's their own precinct fund balance they're making use of. And so then that affected their overall increase for their precinct. But
I guess my question is, why not just use the amount of fund balance that gets you to zero rather than the fund balance 800,000 that gets you then into negative 410? So why not use a fund balance of 390? I don't know. That's
well, not to answer for Mayor Jackson. I'm sure she could chime in just a second. But that was part of the point, is that Holiday at least doesn't want to weigh in on how Mill Creek uses their precinct.
sure. And Neither do we. I'm just wondering again, why not get it to zero instead of this negative number? And then where does that, if there's a negative 411,000, does that just go back into?
That decrease for the,
It's the decrease in the contract for the coming year. So
Okay.
it means that our contract will be that much less. But what we're paying in it, it's not, we're not taking money out of UPD. It's just our contribution.
Okay. I see. I'm reading those lines wrong.
The fund balance is making up that difference.
To me, it looks like with that, you know, now you have
Make money.
yeah,
That'd be
411,000.
great, but that's not how, it's not how.
Yeah, I was hoping not. So that's a great answer.
Now, Mayor Jackson's commissioned on that.
Okay. All right, that's good. Okay, let's move on then. If there are no other questions from the Finance Committee, we'll move on to adoption of the fee schedule. And here to discuss that will be Debbie Sanchez. Debbie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Board. So as the board knows, they've previously approved a consolidated fee schedule for services that are provided by the UPD department. We've been asked what are those fees that we charge? And so services for which fees that we charge include fingerprinting, card registration, records request processing, grandma requests, issuance of various licenses, equipment use fees, and then other general fees. And so that covers most of the fees that we charge. And so obviously, periodically, we need to review that fee schedule to determine if specific fees are still being provided and to determine if those fees are still appropriate. So for this year, we had Lindsay CV is the supervisor in the investigations victims crime unit. And she's done a lot of work and research on the fees specifically for that unit, in which she felt that they needed to make some adjustments. And so for after that review, the following fee changes are recommended. We are recommending that we increase the live scan fingerprinting fee to equal what the Utah Bureau of Criminal Identification charges, BCI charges. And so that will be $20, and it's an increase from $15. We're recommending that we add a solicitor license fee, and this is the one that we had discussion on in the Finance Committee. And so Lindsay did some more research and came back with what she had found, and that was that you will have them come in to the cities to request a business license. It could be a business, it could be an individual. But some of the cities do not do a background check. And so the ordinances that the cities have all state that they will have their law enforcement service do that background check and review the individual to make sure that they should be allowed to get a license. And then with that, they get an ID and they print an ID card. Not a lot of the cities have the capability of printing that as well. And so that's what this specific fee would be for. And that would be for the cities that cannot provide the background check or do not have the background check done and do not have the capability of printing the license. And that's what the solicitor fee would be for you on UPD side.
Assuming that we have UPD perform those services. for
Correct.
us. So we're currently doing at least most, I think, understand that at least in the Holiday, and I wish Chief well here, that that Holiday is actually going to BCI and dealing with it there, and then we're printing our own IDs. So I imagine there'll be some coordination with who's doing what in each municipality, because it could be different with each municipality.
It could be, and that part I don't know. Lindsay was not able to be here today to find out, so I could ask her whether that coordination is being done, but we can make sure that that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to evolve if and have UPD provide the service for us as opposed to us going directly to BCI or anyway. We want to make sure that we're in compliance with what our own ordinances are.
Yes.
But we also don't want to duplicate.
Of course. The thing is that we have no fee right now in place to charge that, and that's why we wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, I know at present we're just we're informing our UPD precinct of these licenses we're issuing, but I don't know that we're I didn't get the impression that our precinct is providing any service with that process.
They, well, I believe you are. Well, oh, you mean the precinct that's within your city?
Right.
I do believe they are. And if they are, then that is being coordinated with Lindsay. If they're going directly to the city themselves, that's the coordination I'm not sure is happening.
Anyway,
Yes.
the point being, let's not try to duplicate or increase the cost.
Correct. We don't want to duplicate it, but we do want to have a fee in place if UPD is going to provide that service.
But the fee is only charged if we are using that service.
Correct.
If we're not electing to use that service, then we will not be charged that fee.
Correct.
There will be.
Correct. And that's where we want to make sure that we have that coordination between the cities and UPD. Okay. Also, let's see, we are proposing fee increases on licenses for sexually oriented businesses. And these are to keep in line with what other agencies are charging. So we are proposing a $150 fee for individuals that are not personally involved in, we call them SOBs. That's being increased from 100. And then we're proposing $300 per business for dancers, models, and similar individuals performing in the SOBs. And that's an increase from 200. And that will be per business, okay? Also, we're proposing 500 for individuals personally providing SOB services, and that's an increase from 300. We want to remove the $50 fee for additional licenses for dancers, models, and similar individuals who are performing in SOBs because they are now going to be charged the $300 per business. So, okay. And then on page 2, we are not proposing any changes there. And then on page 3, we still have a civil processing fee for $15. We want to remove that. That's $15 that was being charged for drawing and executing a sheriff's deed. I don't believe we do that anymore, so we are removing that fee. And that's all the changes that we're proposing at this time.
Any questions from the board for Debbie? Seeing none, this is scheduled for a public hearing today, so I'll entertain a motion to open this to public comment.
I move we open public hearing.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now able to accept public comment if there is any. We'll start first in the room. If there's anyone here who would like to make public comment, now is the time. Seeing none, is there anyone online who'd like to make public comment? Okay, seeing or hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public comment.
Move we close public comment.
Second.
With a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing and public comment is closed. There is a motion for the board to consider.
Mr. Chair, Fotheringham moves approval of the fee schedule resolution 26-05-02.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This should go to a roll call vote or voice vote. Okay, all those in favor of accepting the fee schedule, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that fee schedule is adopted unanimously. We'll move on to the next agenda item, and that is the big one for today to discuss, tentatively adopt the fiscal year 2026-2027 UPD budget. Here up to the mic first is Chief Mazarin. Chief.
Thank you, sir. Real quick, I just want to acknowledge Heather Wall, our colleague over at Intermountain Health, is online with us, so I appreciate her being here, as we'll be discussing her budget also. So we are here today to present the tentative budget as prescribed by law to all of you, and it was like you said, it was a robust budget process. Lots of cage matches in Debbie's office, but we worked really, really hard on this and got it to where we think you will find it acceptable. But I really want to thank Debbie and Angie, Marcy, Karen, the entire finance unit staff for all of their efforts on this. We've been working on this since February. And I really want to thank all the commanders too, who came in multiple times to tweak and revise and push and come up with creative ideas on how we can make this budget as lean but yet efficient and effective for you and all your communities. So we will present that now, and I will make this relatively brief. So we want to put up the presentation. Well, go to the board of directors. There's our board of directors. Thank you to all of you for your support and continued support of our officers and your police department. We'll go to the next one. Okay, so as Mayor Fotheringham was discussing, here is the tentative budget overview of the whole thing. And again, bottom line up front, principal, if you look down there at the bottom yellow line, you've seen those numbers, and that's where we ended up. There was a couple of significant things that happened with this budget is where historically we've always been focused on cutting. And I think that's nuts. You get to a point where you can only cut so much before you really impact service levels. And, you know, anybody can do policing for really cheap. I could beat the price of any police department in the state, but when you're doing it really cheap, you're doing it wrong. And that's not the nature of it. But we do it efficient. And that's what I think we really squoze out of this. And there was some other things we did instead of just cutting everything all the time, which we're always willing to do that. If something's not working or something becomes obsolete, we shouldn't continue to fund it with your money. But the revenue side of it was important, and bringing Intermountain Health on as a partner was important, which, by the way, our project up there with the hospital is going really well. And I'm glad Heather's online, but we went up there the other night and saw some really amazing things. So that is going well, and we're happy with how that's progressing. But by bringing in revenue, for instance, with our incredible partners at Granite School District and Canyons, we really updated our revenue, which we haven't done for years. And that brought in some significant funds to help reduce all of your costs with your SROs. So it was those kind of things that helped us get to where we needed to be and produce those type of numbers that you'll see there on the overview. Is there any questions on that overview piece? It's pretty straightforward. If you go to the next one, you look and see specifically Slovisa. And again, with their numbers, one of our driving objectives with this budget was we felt it was absolutely essential for us to keep Slovisa as flat as possible. You know, we're up against the tax cap. Those issues are being aggressively addressed right now, and we're working on that to try to get that to where it needs to be. But it was imperative that we kept Slovisa flat as possible, and we were able to meet that objective. It did require some use of fund balance by Kearns, Magna, and Brighton, and so we appreciate them doing that, but I'd like to see this get resolved to where that's no longer necessary. So any questions on the Slovisa?
Yeah, when you say fund balance, so Brighton put in 150,000, but that really didn't come out of the fund balance. We just brought in the money from
Yeah.
another source from the town. And isn't that the case for Kearns
That-
and Magna too?
That is the case. Well, Kearns and Magna had some fund balance
Okay.
because of vacancies and things like that. But you're right. I'm glad you said that. Brighton took those funds from a different source. It was really up to everybody if they want to do fund balance, met tax, whatever you decide to do, or just out of your city's fund balance. Yeah, that was the case with Brighton. But it helped because Brighton, their case numbers went up, but that's because they have more officers. They're concentrating, focusing on Brighton, addressing problems there. So it did increase their fee a little bit. Okay, so let's go to the post PBIM objectives. I'm not going to read through every single one of these slides, but as Mayor Fotheringham mentioned, you can see we went from that where we kind of started out at the 5.2 and worked at the problem from there and worked it backwards. We got where we needed to be with Slovisa, maximized our efficiencies. For some time now, we've been talking to our civilians about those that are out of market, getting them into market. We were able to accomplish that objective, which I know is important to me and I know is important to all of you. And then the other thing, the 2.5% COLA was really important. And, you know, we even ran scenarios where we cut the COLA, cut it in half, did different things, looked at every scenario, but that to us was something that we wouldn't do unless we absolutely had to. We were able to preserve that. So I'm really happy about that. If you go to the next one. This is for the shared services. You can see the top line where the overall expenditures went up 145. And then the revenues and sources of funds, especially from the SRO piece, was of significant help this year. And that will step up and graduate, or not graduate, but that will increase each year by $2,500 until we hit $70,000 per SRO. So again, that will help the budget every year. And that's the same with Canyons, where that will help that budget number be lower. You can see that Kearns commits from their Met tax some money for 2 officers and their analyst, and they've been doing that now for some time. They've chosen to spend their MEC tax that way, so they continue to do that, and they also contributed some fund balance to help offset the cost for Slovisa along with Magna and Brighton. And then Mill Creek is asked to use 800 of their fund balance, and so that is in your budget there. All right. And then you can read that, changes from the PBIM to the tentative budget. I won't read through that unless there's any questions. But we did make a slight change at the bottom there on the capital expenditures. We added in the vests, and then a lot of our capital expenditures this year. Historically, we haven't done a lot of CapEx stuff, but with the rebuilding of the department and constructing Fort UPD, we had to add some CapEx expenditures that will only be one time this year, and then we should be good for a while. But it was really critical because some of the stuff that we're spending that on is for, is really important to our day-to-day operations, the evidence and special ops and all that. So, but some of those things will be a one-time cost. We won't see that again next year. To the budget highlights. We've talked to you about the URS rates and what happened there, where we saw an increase. The increase in our health insurance premiums, which Chief Olson was able to get down to 12. We kept our cost of living in our civilian market preserved. We were able to preserve the watch commander position and the car team investigator position, the crash analyst reconstruction. And I'm grateful for that because we have one person in there and he is getting beat to death going on all these call outs on these serious car accidents. So him getting some help will be really important. Plus that helps us do some succession planning because you have to have somebody in there that's trained, and there's a lot of skill sets that come with that position. And so you can't just take an officer and transfer them in and they're going to work in the next 2 weeks. It takes time for them to get up to speed. And that unit's really important to all your communities because you all have serious crashes. And when we have that, we got to do those right. And then Midville, you're aware of the part-time ask. We talked about that at your meeting this week. Mill Creek and Holiday will be adding 1 new sergeant for traffic. And the Magna is in the process of converting a sergeant position to help with some community issues. You look at the capital expenditures. Again, I'm not going to read those line by line, but you can see pretty clearly what's on there. If there's a couple things, for instance, the trailers for negotiations. We're trying to find the right thing, but if we can't find the right thing, we're not going to waste your money. We'll just hold off until we do find the right thing. But some of those purchases are proving to be a little more difficult as we research those. We haven't purchased it, obviously, but finding the right item has been more difficult than we anticipated. So if we can't find the right thing, we're not going to spend that money until we do find the right thing. Any questions on the capital expenditures? Right, and then we go to the tentative budget overview. And you can see 3 cities, Slavisa's share, Intermountain Health's share. And then the overall increase or decrease. And then where we're at the bottom there with Slavisa. Again, very straightforward. Then the last slide, that's the one that you've seen many times before that talks about the 70, 20, 10, the formulas and the current numbers that got us here. So if you have any questions on that or any part of the presentation, but again, I want to just bring something pretty simple and straightforward. I appreciate Debbie and all the work you've done putting this together. If you have any questions for myself or Debbie, we'd be happy to answer those.
Chief, I just wanted to thank you and Debbie and all of the finance team. I know when we first started this, Midvale was sitting at about 6.1%. That's down to 2.92%, which is a 52% decrease. So we certainly appreciate that. And without, affecting service level or safety of our officers, we sure do appreciate that. One of the things I'm most optimistic about is the Intermountain Health addition to the budget. We see what just one hospital does to the budget and how that can make a positive impact on all of us. From my research, Intermountain Health has approximately 22 hospitals in the state of Utah and probably 100 or more clinics of various sizes, some big, some small. So I think the sky's the limit with the Intermountain Health piece, and hopefully that will help stabilize the budget over the next few years. So appreciate all the work that you did and your team did to get Intermountain on board with UPD this year. Look forward to that partnership. And I know Heather is online. Thank you, Heather. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have one question. On a tentative budget overview, Chief, and the overall increases, it's showing Midvale at a minus 250 in parentheses. And then below that, it's showing Holiday at a 2.31, basically going up. You have a couple more in parentheses, but they're not showing minuses.
Are
Is
you
that
talking
the
about
typo?
tentative budget overview?
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
So let's say, like the first one is Mill Creek showing at a minus 250,
Yeah.
and that matches up on the actual budget. And then Holidays at a 2.13, which is over. And then you got Kearns and Copperton in the parentheses, but there's no negative on that. Is this a typo?
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
'Cause I'm going to say that 2.1% or 2.17 for Kearns matches with the budget as a negative. And here it's shown as like a positive, but in parentheses. So I'm just questioning that.
Yeah, that is a negative for sure.
Okay.
But Kearns, you go look at the very top line of the revenues, Kearns got a significant bump for the SROs because you have a lot of them. So that helped out quite a bit. But yeah, we can definitely change that for the final. Yep. But
Any other questions or comments from the board?
and just to your point, Mayor, Intermountain Health has been a fantastic partner, and we've enjoyed participating with them. We're sitting on some of their committees now and learning a lot. So it's a win-win for both those organizations.
Okay, if there aren't any more questions up here, this is also scheduled for a public hearing today. If there's a motion to open this to public comment, now would be a good time.
I move we open this discussion to public comment.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now able to accept public comment. If there's anyone here in the room who'd like to give public comment, step up to the microphone. Seeing none, is there anyone online who would like to give public comment? Seeing and hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, motion and multiple seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comment is closed for this item. There is a motion for the board to consider.
Mr. Chair, Fotheringham moves to approve the fiscal year 2026-2027 tentative budget under Resolution 2605-03.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Should we do a roll call for this?
Yes, but I was wondering if the motion could be amended to use the word adopt rather than approved. That's the statutory language.
I move to change or amend the motion to adopt the fiscal year 2026-2027 tentative budget under resolution number 260503.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have an amended motion and a second. Will you call the roll on this one?
Director Fotheringham,
Yes.
Director Gettle,
Yes.
Director Jackson,
Yes.
Director Kegley,
Yes.
Director McCalman, Director Perry, Director Pignon,
Yes.
Director Prokopis,
Yes.
Director Schaefer.
Yes.
Okay, that is adopted unanimously. You used the correct terminology there. Moving on to the next agenda item, it is a motion to approve our April 16th, 2026 UPD Board Meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those?
I move we approve the April 16th, 2026 UPD Board Meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the April 16th, 2026 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, those minutes are approved unanimously. Moving on, we have a couple of meetings upcoming. First being the UPD Finance Committee meeting, Wednesday, June 10th, 2026 at 9 a.m. That will probably be for a robust discussion on the tentative budget. Then we'll have a board meeting right back here, June 19th, 2026 at 9 a.m., Mill Creek City Hall. Are there any other meetings or events that anyone knows about that would like to? I was just going to give a shout out, Midvale City Mural Festival, Saturday, June 13th. There will be a conflicting baseball game, I hear, unfortunately, because I would have definitely have been to that and probably have run on the field or something. If there are no closed session need for today,
There's no reason for a closed session today.
okay, perfect. Any other business from board members? Yeah.
But I want to let you know, and I was going to do this in the middle of my budget thing, but Amanda has been working vigorously on grants. And so I'm happy to report that we've put in for one grant through Burgess Owens' office, which, what would be the term? We've been awarded or basically been awarded a grant. It's a little over $1 million for technology. Now, we couldn't use it in the budget for now because we don't know when it's going to drop. Burgess Owens has already called, he's awarded it, and it's now with the other parts of that process. Hopefully it will drop sometime this year, but I just don't know. So I didn't want to say anything until we were pretty locked into that. But that will be of tremendous benefit to the budget. Again, the revenue piece. If and when we get, well, not if, but when we get that. So I will advise you when that grant comes in, and that will be incredibly helpful to the overall budget. In addition to that, we've submitted for a second grant for about 1.3 million. They say they're going to let us know in June when that's awarded. I cannot believe it is going to be decided that quickly. These things take a long time to move through that bureaucratic process, but I'm very hopeful we'll get that one. So again, we're working on a lot of different sources of revenue to help with this budget. And so I just really want to point out Amanda's efforts on that. It's been great. So we appreciate her. I will let you know the status of those as they come. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions from board members?
have one thing. I'm curious about the need for a finance committee meeting on June 10th. This body adopted a tentative budget. Any future discussion should probably include the entire council. I'm just curious if that is what we normally do. Finance.
Finance Committee Chair did not call for the meeting, so that's a great question.
And Debbie's walking up. We need some walking up music for Debbie.
Unless we're anticipating some changes, but
No, it's just been traditional that you've had the June one because it precedes the final budget. And if there are changes, then we want to address it in the Finance Committee and then bring it before the board. But if there are not any changes to the budget, then yeah, the Finance Committee meeting would not be necessary.
So it's just a placeholder if needed.
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. I do think you guys deserve a pizza party, though, for all your hard work. There's no other questions, no other business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.